It's been an interesting ride for municipalities during this pandemic, as many of them have struggled to figure out how to hold their meetings and how to keep residents connected when they can't always be in the same room as the people that they've elected to represent them. So Richmond Municipal Council tackled 3 different ways to try to reach out to the public during their most recent in-person council meeting at the Richmond Municipal Building in Ayrshire. Telile itself is a part of one of those discussions. Telile will soon be doing live streaming of Richmond Council meetings for our viewers. But as well, Richmond councillors are taking a look at their communications policy, and they're also seeing if they can open up their council meetings to add additional time for questions from the public. Here's how that discussion went at last week's regular municipal council meeting in Ayrshire. A 15-minute public question period had been a tradition at Richmond Council for years, and shortly after being sworn in as warden in 2016, Brian Marchand suggested that the question period could be open to items beyond the actual agenda of the meeting in question. However, this experiment ended quickly, and in 2019, the Richmond Council of the Day quietly discarded the public question period. It was reinstated at both regular council meetings and committee of the whole, shortly after the swearing in of the 5 new councillors for Richmond County in late October. However, according to Warden Amanda MOMBOURQUETTE, a Richmond County resident suggested that the passing of motions from the report of the Committee of the Whole at regular council meetings usually wound up leaving people unable to comment about the contents of the Committee of the Whole report and the resulting motions before the end of the regular meeting. So with that in mind, Council has voted to tweak the question periods for both the Committee of the Whole meeting and the regular council meeting and provide an extra question period before the Committee of the Whole report goes through.
We had heard from a constituent about, maybe think about this because it seems like it's too late once the Committee of the Whole report is approved at regular council. So I took a look at what was going on in some other areas and kind of adopted a best practice from down on towards the South Shore area, and looked at what they were doing, and the feedback I had got was really that it sort of changed the dynamic of council and gave people more of a constructive opportunity to ask really pertinent questions, so they weren't sort of feeling like their questions were necessarily put off at the end after the decisions were already all made, right?
I would welcome that change, simply because, like you mentioned, Warden MOMBOURQUETTE, if there is something in that question, or maybe an opinion of the public, before we approve the Committee of the Whole, then it would give them that opportunity to sit in that chair and to ask us those important questions, and maybe give them, give us their opinion before we would approve anything that was discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting. So I would welcome putting that question period at that section during regular council, leaving it where it's at for Committee of the Whole, but putting it where you mentioned for regular council meeting.
I would agree about the placement, of course, at the Committee of the Whole. I think both our discussions and yours all make sense to me, and I do like leaving the question period at the end of the Committee of the Whole meeting, because we've had a lot of time during that meeting to flesh out a lot of ideas, and then the folks who are here with us may have some additions to that right on the spot that will help us with that sober second thought before we hit the regular council meeting. And I guess the other piece is I'd like to really see us use question period as a way as well for constituents to share some ideas with us, not just necessarily, in a question format, of course, like it's not about presentations, but just a way for them to ask questions about a broad range of topics and then stay a bit more focused.
Really, the format for question period doesn't change at a Committee of the Whole meeting. It's at the end. The one change we did make is that we wanted to open it up. So if it's related, not related to an item on the agenda, we still invite questions from the public. And again, as Councillor Melanie SAMSON had mentioned, maybe there are some great ideas that could come from that kind of open dialogue with the public. But then when it comes to our regular council meeting, where we would approve the Committee of the Whole report, just prior to the presentation of that report, we'd like to open question period, just in case, constituents have found an item there that they're not sure about, that they have questions about. It gives them an opportunity to ask those questions before the Committee of the Whole report is read. and approved, right? So, and which is really important for us as councillors, because we want to make sure that we're hearing constituents' concerns and taking that into account as we, prior to making a decision on something. So having the question period sort of at the very back, well after the Committee of the Whole report was approved, didn't really make as much sense to us. So this is a new structure. We're going to try it out. If we need to tweak it, we will. But the whole point is that we're really interested in, new ways of engaging people and opportunities for, for the best, I guess, and, a high standard of openness as well.
I think it does make sense, especially for the regular council meeting, probably to have it before the Committee of the Whole report, whereas if an issue arises or there's information we're not aware of that somebody wants to, question how we had come to a decision at the Committee of the Whole before things are finalized, it does seem like a way to better engage with the community and be more effective using the question period.
In a further effort to increase transparency and communication with its citizens, Richmond councillors have asked council staff to take a closer look at Richmond County's communications policy to see if there's anything that can be done to improve the policy and fill in the blanks in terms of community engagement.
Right now, our communications plan is really, it's more of a statement, like of commitment of how we're going to or our ideals of how we communicate with our constituents, but it currently lacks any sort of tactics or discussion on the specific channels that we would use to communicate with the public, potentially related to special types of activities or routine or official activities such as council meetings, that kind of thing. And really, for me, boiled down to what's our commitment to the public to ensure people are aware from our transparency, openness, and accountability perspective.
For me, looking at some of these points in this document, one that sticks out for me is that, strong local government is based on a community that is well informed about the county's matters and what's going on in the community, right? So openness, transparency, and making sure that council and staff is well informed with each other and informing the public, right?
I think that the base of it is great. I think it's got lots of excellent points, but I would agree that it lacks those action items. What does that really look like? Yeah, and maybe could use a little tweaking. Could I suggest that if we do task staff with having a little look at that we take a little bit of ownership here in terms of just sharing what we've heard from residents in terms of where things are working well or maybe where things are not working well, that could be somehow amalgamated into a refreshed plan? Because I think it's very timely given that we've just, we're new to the position, so people are, we're anxious to tell us all the things they would do differently when we were running, and they've had some time to sort of see what's happening. And so I would just challenge us to share some of that information as well.
However, Richmond CAO Don Marchand warned councillors that the task might not be as easy as they think.
We currently don't have a communications officer, and we don't have anybody that really was tasked with that to do that plan. So I don't know how it was done. I could research how we came about it, if it was any type of staff member that did it, or if we acquired the services of a consultant, perhaps. I don't know. But to task staff to do it when we don't know how it was done in the past might be maybe asking a little too much at this stage of the game.
Looking at our CAO's comments, according to this, it's right. It's not just done by council. Or just done by staff. It includes the warden, council, and residents, local businesses. So it seems like there's a complete input of information, which obviously leads to us being part of the work in progress. So again, like our CAO stated that he's not sure where it came from.
The CAO made a great point this evening, where did that report originate from? There's not really an established communications officer. What do we need to, what kinds of, resources do we need to put in place as a council to make sure that we do have good communication and good planning of communication with constituents? you know, things that are missing from it in my mind right now are some of that tactical information. So, you know, what are the media channels that we use, traditional, social, digital, whatever it might be, to let the public know about what's going on? Is there a routine around some of that? So you know that if a regular council meeting is coming up, it's going to be published here, here, and here. And so there's, you know, we want to really set that expectation so that it sort of holds us as councillors and as a municipality kind of accountable on making sure people have advance notice of things, and that's really, I think that's really the intent of the communications plan.
At the same time, Warden MOMBOURQUETTE is also hopeful that Council's approval of a recent application by Telile Community Television to live stream regular Council meetings, as well as meetings of Richmond's Committee of the Whole, will help provide a deeper connection between Richmond Council and residents of the county.
Partially driven by the pandemic, the fact that we can't get as many bums and seats here, right? It's a real restriction. I also, you know, hearing from constituents, they're really pleased with being able to see it on YouTube or on TV the next day. But at the end of the day, they just feel like they've missed out on a little something because they're not seeing it in real time. So having a fantastic partner like Telile to be able to do this for such a cost-effective way, as I think Councillor Sampson mentioned, it's a no-brainer, right? So I think it's an important step for us, and like I said, it really aligns with all of the things we talked about as we were kind of campaigning, that kind of thing.